Let me say, first of all, thank you very much to my Maltese angel, Joe Aquilina. It's incredible to be here. You have a beautiful country. I was on the bus. I saw the north and I saw the south. And it's a gorgeous place and it reminds me of home. Home, of course, is Israel. And it's quite interesting that there is so much growth in your country, which, again, we have in common because there is so much growth in our country. You're the island of peace, from what I understand, and we're the Holy Land. So we have something major in common. My books and what I do in my life have to do with growth, have to do with what I consider to be the single most important human capacity, and that is the capacity to communicate. The question is how we use what we have in order to get what we need to get in order to communicate and give to each other what we need as human beings. The big problem in the world is that we've forgotten how to communicate. We've forgotten how to give. We've forgotten what is the essence of our being. So what happened to us is we wind up in a position where we've become a box. And you cannot play an instrument in a box. The voice is in a box. God put the voice into a box for one reason and one reason only, to take it out of the box. Meaning taking it out of the box in every single way possible. It means vocally, it means spiritually, it means intellectually, it means who are you as a human being and how do you express your beingness when you're speaking to other human beings. We look at politics today in the world. We look at relationships between people. And what do we see? We see fragmentation. Fragmentation. You listen to people speaking, and you don't even hear what they're saying. You listen to people speaking, and you hear words coming out of their mouth, but those words are not reaching into your soul. They're not reaching into your heart. I'm Lubavitch, and my rabbi was a grand personage in the world. And he worked tirelessly to be with everyone and be a bridge to all mankind. He said, what comes from the heart goes into the heart. But if it doesn't come from the heart, it doesn't go anywhere. It creates a barrier and nothing penetrates. And when the voice is inside a box, and it remains inside a box, and we use that box in order to push it out with the power of our bodies, the instrument becomes destroyed. What we have in the world today that we didn't have ever, didn't exist. That voices are going after 5, 10 years of careers, and then we do surgeries, and then people die because their hearts are broken. Because when the voice is not working for someone who is born to be a singer, someone who is born to be a communicator, someone is born to give in a way of communicating, which is each and every one of us, something terrible happens to your soul. I was actually born, I thought, to sing. My whole life, since I was very little, my father would put me on the chair and he would say, "Miriam, sing," and I would sing. My father, he should rest in peace, was a student in Poland of a very, very famous cantor, and he taught him in a certain way, so he taught me in a certain way, and everything that I learned from my father was not good for me. My throat was always sore. I always had a sore throat. I could never get through a song without having a sore throat. So I used to say to him, I used to say, "Papa, something is wrong. No, you have to do it that way, and you have to do it that way." And being a good daughter, I did. That was in Europe. Then we came to America, and then he sent me to study with a very important voice teacher. And things went from worse to worser. And when I was 19, basically I had lost the voice. I was still at it. Nothing was going to stop me from singing. And by the time I was 22, I had the first vocal cord surgery. Now, when I was 22, that was a couple of years ago. It was before laser. So it was a blade that was being used to take off the nodules. Okay, and then I did the route, I went to speech pathology, and then I started again, and then I sang exactly the same way I used to sing. Didn't know anything else. So I was told, I have them again. They came back. I was always hoarse, and I had the second surgery. And then it was over, completely. 6 months, walking around with a pencil and paper, writing, because I was on complete vocal rest. I went and I saw everyone, and there was, my whole life was about communication, always. Nothing to do. I got to the point where, let's put it to you this way. The idea of not communicating and not being able to speak was so overwhelming and so powerful that death seemed to be the only way out. It's a very interesting thing that when a person comes to that moment in their life when they have no place to go, and of course nobody understood me, nobody could help me, nobody gave me any advice whatsoever that I could use, that I could attach myself to, that was going to bring back the instrument. So there was only one place to go, and you know exactly where that is. And I said to God, I said, look, I'll make you a deal. You give me the knowledge of how to speak. And I promise you that I will never, ever go on stage again. I will never sing again. All I will do is take what you give me and give it and teach it to anybody and everybody who needs it. It's a pact I've never regretted. It's a pact that I made for my life. And God hears our prayers. He hears every thought, because that is where we live. We live in our thoughts. And then we take our thoughts and we express our thoughts. And what we hear and what we're told and what exists in an inaudible form then becomes audible as we speak it. So the story is very interesting, and obviously it stretches over years. I didn't wake up one morning and come up with the entire conversation of the Voice of Spiritual Approach to Singing, Speaking, and Communicating, which is 4 books. The 5th book is called Revealed, the Secrets of the Voice in the Zohar being Kabbalah, the Zohar being the mystic explanation of the 5 books of Moses, the Torah. But it came in pieces where I could reconstruct my own instrument. And as I reconstructed my own instrument, every piece I got, I gave to somebody else. Because who was around me? People who didn't have voices. They were all in trouble. It was terrible. Everybody was in trouble. Everybody was in trouble. So one piece at a time here, one piece at a time there, one piece. And what came out was, in the end, after a couple of years, and a thing that continues, it's by no stretch of the imagination over. The conversation is an ongoing evolution. I got to the 4th book, and I said, okay, the 4th book is enough material. So anybody who has a problem, whether it's a singer, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a kindergarten teacher, whether it's a child. Children come to me at the age of 9 with vocal cord nodules. They want to operate. Now, don't operate. Within a couple of months, there is nothing. People come to me with polyps on their vocal cord. You can't even imagine. They go and get scoped, and they get told, well, you have acid reflux. So the acid reflux is causing the problems with the voice. No, the problems with the voice are not caused by acid reflux. The problems with the voice is you don't know how to play the instrument. You just don't know. This is a piano. I have Steinway at home. This could be a Yamaha. It could also be an upright. It could also be a $500 nothing. However, if Rubinstein sits down on the $500 nothing, it sounds like it is a grand. It sounds like it is a Steinway. It sounds like it is a Yamaha. But if you go there and you bang at it continually over and over and over and over again, and you don't even know. You know what the incredible thing is? The incredible thing is that you don't know because nobody tells you. And because there is no other way, and you listen to what everybody tells you. For instance, at the age of 11, 12, 13, a boy loses his voice. Where this came from, I haven't the faintest clue. But every kid is told that at the age of 11, 12, 13, males lose their voices because now the voice will crack and then they'll become masculine voices. The voice will become dark. And that is what is expected to happen. So here you have a kid who is a boy soprano, who's got a gorgeous, beautiful voice, comes to the age of 12, 13, and all of a sudden that voice is no longer acceptable because he sounds like a girl. Everybody's telling him he now has to be a man. So the brain gets the idea that obviously if the voice has to be lower, then it has to go down. Of course it would go down because obviously the instrument is in the throat. So it makes absolutely perfect sense that you would go down, you would go into the throat, and then you would begin to try to manipulate to become a masculine voice. And then if you happen to sing, all of a sudden it cracks. Why? Because it's not meant to be there. But then you have absolutely no idea how the voice grows in the right place because nobody ever told you. So the only thing that you've got in the world, in life, is what you're being told by other people, meaning knowledge. So if a teacher tells you, open your mouth, because when you open your mouth, you'll get large, beautiful, gorgeous sound. And then if you move the air out, you'll have great projection. You're going to try to do that because the teacher said so. And then when you're told, well, the voice needs to have a vibration. We call that a vibrato. Okay, so the vibrato has to be, okay, so the vibrato has to be, and it has to be made in the throat, because if it's not made in the throat, where else is there a place to make it? So if you don't make it, then you don't have a vibrato. And then the voice is static, blah, 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 blah. And you do exactly what your teacher tells you. And you go to a teacher because you trust them, because they had a great career, and because if they had a great career, they obviously must know what they're doing. I mean, these are very normal thinking. This is normal thinking. The truth of the matter is that a singer can never be a teacher. And the reason a singer can never be a teacher is so incredibly simple. And I will tell it to you because you know that 90%, at least 90% of all teachers sing. They sing to their students, and they want you to do it exactly the way they do it. Yesterday, I had this enormous, incredible privilege. Something amazing, amazing to speak with Richard England. Richard England. Okay. And that was like two birds of a feather that fly together. I mean, the two of us were at it for 4 hours. It was unbelievable. There is somebody who understands. And when I started to explain to him, it was like fireworks were going off. Why? Because here is, first of all, second of all, he knows voices. And when you listen to voices of the past, and you listen to voices of today, there is a huge, gigantic difference. And the difference is that voices of the past, they wait. Line, sound, height, expression, you could understand every word. Today you listen to voices, everything is just completely mumbled, exactly right. You don't understand the words, and the sounds don't have the brilliance. They don't have the height. They don't have this right into me to the point where I get chills even thinking about Caruso's voice. Okay. So here came the story that says, where does it come from? Where does it begin? Where is its life? And its life does not begin in the middle of the body. Its life begins where life begins. And God created the world with thought. He thought about it. And when he thought about it, he realized that it was good. And his thought produced the world. It produced the letters. It produced nature. It produced everything that we call world. How come all of a sudden we forget and we stick everything into a box? Can you play an instrument in a box? If I pick up the piano and I go inside and I start fingering the strings, what will I get? I'll get something. I'll get a sound. Will I get the potential of the instrument? No. I have to take the instrument out of the box, learn how to play it, learn what it needs. It's not, oh yeah, I'm going to go me, 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 la, 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 me, 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 la, 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 and then I am a singer. That's what we do today. Jet age. Everything needs to be done yesterday. Make lots of money, doesn't matter what repertoire you sing. Just you have the voice, go to it. What will happen to you in 3-4 years from now, nobody cares. Right now, you're at it, and right now, you're making money at it. So you have these incredibly soft, gentle vocal cords inside your throat. Now the throat in Hebrew is called tzabal. And the throat connotates in Hebrew Mitzrayim. Same root. The word Mitzrayim means Egypt. Egypt translates to slavery. It tells you in the word of vocal cords, which is Mitzrayim, that it's very small. It's like the Nile, and you need to be very, very careful how you move inside of it. And you know that in a place that is so small, it's extremely difficult to expand. So since you can't expand in a small place, what you do is you begin pushing and shoving and manipulating and bringing it out because there is no place else to go. You don't know anything else. None of this is used in a spiritual approach to singing, speaking, and communicating. Because you don't know. You don't know how to use the vocal cords. You don't know it. Can you tell me what knows it? What knows how to use the vocal cords? Of course. Your brain knows. Your brain knows how to do everything. You have no clue about anything. You get born, and the first thing you do, you make sound. Nobody taught you. You didn't go to any teacher. Oh, yes, you did. But nobody taught you except God himself taught you. Your mind is the source of your knowledge. The connecting and reconnecting of the voice to the source is what we're talking about in the work that I do. To leave behind the constraints of the limitation that is built into the throat and take it out and bring it into a place where there is no limitation, where whatever you could possibly perceive is available because the potential was given to you as a gift originally. That was part and parcel of the package and the blueprint that you got when you came. The only thing is, you forgot. And the reason you forgot is because of everybody else around who also forgot. And so they made up other things in order to cover up the forgetfulness. And what we do is we regress. We go right back to the beginning. And to the beginning in such a way that it becomes a connection with humanity and a connection with spirituality. And that when you are singing or when you are speaking, you go into a place that is totally and completely a different place. Nothing about money, and nothing about how great am I, and nothing about ego, and nothing about my career. It's about playing the instrument to its maximum potential. So if the maximum potential is not in this limited space that we all know and that we all use and that is the common understanding and usage of the voice, so where is the place? Where can it possibly be? Where can it possibly be? It can't be in your chest because that's closed. It can't be anywhere near the throat because whatever it is that you do in this area will destroy the instrument. So you have to take the playing of the instrument to a completely different level. And that level has to do with knowledge. And knowledge is a combination of the past, present, and future. I do not have one student, nor have I ever had a student who lost his voice. They come to me as a last resort. They'll go to everybody else with a huge, gigantic career, and then they'll come to me like in broken pieces. Miriam, I'm 35. My life is over. What are you talking about? You're just a baby. You're just going to start from square one again, and then we're going to connect, reconnect. What happens to people who are tone deaf? You know how many people say, oh, I can't sing for any reason whatsoever. I am so tone deaf, I can't even sing in the bathroom. Not true. Because tone deaf people hear the sounds perfectly. They know when you're off pitch right away. You're nodding your head, which means you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, what's wrong? How come they can't translate what they actually hear into the actual sound that they hear. They're disconnected. That's all. So once we re-establish the connection, and once we put together what was lost, 99.9% of all the people that I've ever come across have gorgeous voices. They're just disconnected. Let me tell you something. I'm little. But I don't look at myself as being little. I know that my potential is absolutely to be 6 feet tall. So I behave like a person who is 6 feet tall. I can do that. I don't have to ask anybody to do that for me. I can manage. Your potential lies here. And your potential lies inside this nothing. Sponge. Sponge. Only sponge. That nobody can figure out. Nobody can put their finger on. Nobody has the foggiest idea how this thing works at all. A few years ago, 7, 8 years ago, there was a study at McGill University in Canada, and they spent millions of dollars to know where is the concentration in the brain of sound. You know that. And they came up with the right point here at the temple. That's the concentration of sound. So I wrote to the esteemed professor and I said, gee, I could have saved you millions of dollars for other projects, really, really important, if you'd have read my first book for $9.99. Truth. When you understand, to begin with, that you know nothing, that you are nothing, and that all of what you are, the sum total of what you are, is a gift, and that you have to take care of it, and that you need to watch it, and that you need to love it, and you have to do the best you possibly can to preserve it, then you can learn. The minute you go and you say, oh, but I know that, and you're not open, and you're not able, and you're not available, mind, body, and soul, to receive, but you go right back to the old stuff that you were doing because it's comfort zone. How can you talk to me about voice and spirituality? What does voice and spirituality have to do together? I'm an atheist. Really? I don't believe you. I don't believe you because if you speak, and if you sing, and if you live, you can't be an atheist because something much, much bigger than you is running the show. And that bigger than you is located right there. Why? Because there is where you hear it. There is where you perceive it. That is where your word is created. That is where your sound is created. That is where the combination of sound is created. And from there, it needs to part, and it needs to come out of your mouth. It can't come out of the back of your head. It can't come out of your arm. It's got to come out of here. And the body was designed in such a way that it has a magnitude of life force. What is life force? What is life force? What is life force? People. The will to live, but how can you live without? Yay! Goody. Of course. And the body is an infinite, necessary. It needs air. So what do we have? This isn't it. This isn't it either. And when you walk down the road, you don't think about it at all. What do you think about? You think about walking. You think about getting where you're going. You're thinking about shopping. You're thinking about the kids. You're thinking about cooking. You're not thinking about breathing. So what's doing it? What's giving it to you? I can't even do it badly. What's doing it? What's bringing in the air? Your heart and your lungs need it. They don't bring it in. What brings it in? The brain needs it. Doesn't bring it in. What brings it in? People. The skin. The skin brings in the air. The skin is porous. The air is endless. The skin brings in the air to the body. You don't think about it, you don't worry about it, it just does it. It was designed that way. You could actually say, if you wanted to be funny, like me, okay, you could say that your toes are responsible for the air in the brain. Because the toes take in, just like the fingers, just like your ears, just like everybody else, everything else in your body is taking in air, is taking in oxygen continually, so you can have these enormously beautiful, long phrases without every 2 seconds having to take in air. Today, we listen to singers, and what do we hear? Da, 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 da. Okay, and I hear this, and it makes me just so upset because there is no line. There is no continuation of sound. There is no real, beautiful movement, effortless movement of sound. Because when you're doing this continuously, it takes stress. It puts stress on your lungs, it puts stress on your heart, it puts stress on your soul. It puts stress on your vocal cords, it puts stress on the muscles. The idea of ripping open your mouth, okay, rip open your mouth and what happens? Your tongue goes up in the back, it closes up the throat. The air that's in here has got to be pushed out. That's why everybody's neck looks like they're prize fighters, okay? Sticking out of the veins and sticking out of the muscles, red in the face, eyes bulging. It's just, all of that because the reality of where the voice connects is not there. The voice connects in holiness. And the holiest place inside the body is not the heart, but it's the brain. Because only in the brain, only in your thoughts, only in your perception can you hear internally, can you listen internally, and can you follow the voice internally. The spirituality of the voice, the reason for it being where it is because when you put something into jail, it has bars around it and it can't get out. That sound connects with the universe and it goes back to where it came. And the whole conversation is that the world above must guide the world below. The cut-off point in between is something called the soft palate. And the soft palate is the key between the upper world and the lower world. And if the soft palate does not remain up, the throat cannot remain open. And if the throat does not remain open, you must use the air that you inhale and push it back out again and exhale it. This is an enormous subject. It's an enormous subject. An hour is, a drop into the ocean. I want to tell you this. I want to tell you this. I'm going to start with the last thing. And I'm going to leave you with that. Because I want to come back and I want to do a master class and I want to give you all of it. And I'm going to leave you with this. Question. The Ha are the windows of the soul. The Ha are the windows of the soul. What? The eyes are the windows of the soul. When you hear great singing, when you hear good speaking, where do you hear it? You hear it above. You never hear it below. When it's clear, when it's brilliant, when it's high, it comes from above. When it's effortless, it runs on the air. It doesn't manipulate and hold the air, but it runs on the air. So if the voice is the soul, and if within the voice there is contained the soul of the person who is speaking, the soul of the person that is singing, where would the sound have to come from? From heaven. you know that the eyes, two eyes, have 12 muscles? Did you know that there are 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6 muscles in each eyeball that hold the eyes in? Otherwise, your eyeballs will be hanging out. That wouldn't be too cool. So everything goes in. So these muscles pull back. Did you know that those muscles, according to the Eye Institute in Philadelphia, big experts, it's not my story, it's their story, that those muscles have 200 times the potential of movement than what we actually use in our life? Can you imagine what would sound like air with 200 times the potential of what you're actually using if you understood and if you knew how to use the air that is already there, that you don't ever have to take in, because in your life you can't take in the amount of air that it takes to move your body, to move billions of cells inside your body. Can't. So God provided. He already put it in. Second, if you knew that behind your eyeballs there is nothing, may I introduce you to Herbie. Herbie goes with me everywhere. This is Herbie. Herbie walks around. He has a skull, but I don't use it because he needs to be open as though he didn't have it. Herbie also doesn't have a jaw. And the reason Herbie doesn't have a jaw is because the jaw is attached to the throat, is attached to the bottom, is attached to slavery, is attached to everything that is closed. So what does Herbie have? Herbie has a lot of empty space. Herbie has six air canals in the nose. That if you go like this, everything goes down, closes back up again, you're all done. But if you know how to open them up, then all of a sudden you will feel a complete and total release and relaxation, and all of a sudden you'll be able to connect with all of that air that's already there. You don't have to take it in because your toes are worrying about the fact that you have it in your brain. So what happens then? I'm not telling. That's it. I'm not telling. Why? Because if I tell you more, you'll be so blown away. I mean, you'll be so blown away, and then I'll feel very bad, and I don't want to do that because I don't like feeling bad. I want you to know that there is no age, there is no voice that is destroyed, because it regenerates and recreates There is no end because there is only the beginning, and the beginning is truly the beginning. When you connect vowel sounds to the muscles behind your eyeballs, to the thoughts in the back of your head, and stay there while you're speaking, then you have that extraordinary line that you want to have, where the voice flows all by itself, propelled only by your thought, propelled only by the intention of what you wish to say. Your body is free, your mind is free, you think and you speak exactly and precisely what you think. If you don't know what you're going to say, and if you don't know what you're talking about, then you speak from the bottom and you blah, 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 because you're not connected to where you need to be connected to. But the minute, the very second that you are connected, there's only one problem with us. It's very difficult not to tell the truth when you're in that place. What comes out is truth. What comes out is the true thinking of your thoughts, and you've got to be very careful. Trump would never go for that. Never go for that. But Bernie Sanders also wouldn't go. None of them, nobody would ever go for that. Why? Because you've got to be so convinced of what you're doing. You've got to be so connected to belief and to faith and knowledge and wisdom of what you're doing. And you've got to be so guided that you wouldn't want to hurt a fly. And when you have the potential of a voice and you want to give that voice out into the world, in the bathroom, it's okay, but be in the right place, connect in the right way, and flow with the instrument. Allow the instrument to flow, just like our lives are nothing more than a flow, than a moment of grass that sprouts in the morning and withers at night. So the time that we have, let that be a time of being completely and totally connected to the essence of who we are as human beings. Psalm number 137. The secret of the Levites of the temple. Singers chosen by God for the temple. Let my tongue cleave to my palate if I forget you, O Jerusalem. What happens if the tongue cleaves to the palate? You close the throat. And when you close the throat, you have no other choice but to push out. And sound doesn't go out. Sound goes in. And it stays in. And it moves internally. And the voice moves on the inside, never on the outside. And projection is here because I decide and I intend it to be there. But otherwise, it is inside of me, deep, 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 deep inside of me. And that is where I sit, where I belong, where I connect, and that is the power at the beginning. Question? Well, there are a number of ways. There are my books. There. We continue tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm teaching, and then I have to see Julian, and then we have Passover. But I come back. For a real masterclass. And we start at ground zero in a good way. When you get it, it's so easy that a baby can do it. If you look at a baby, babies begin speaking, and then as they begin speaking, they take on the habitudes of people around them. That means if you have a father who is a chain smoker, okay, always speaking like that, the child is going to be worse. If you have screaming and yelling around your life, you're going to be screaming and yelling, and you'll think that that's the normal way to do things. Okay? I was just in South Africa teaching a choir of 73 children from the age of 8 to the age of 17. Try to put this into perspective, okay? And I can tell you, we work 6 hours a day. Masterclass, 6 hours a day for 2 days, and no child moved. We were just talking about this. English is not their first language, and I don't speak Zulu, and I don't speak Afrikaans. But by the time I left, they spoke English. Fabulous. We had a dictionary of all the words that I taught them that are the voice. They know everything. This is the second time I went. They remember everything. They use everything, and they're becoming the best choir in the whole region. Why? And I learned something very interesting. Every single voice, whether it's big, whether it's small, it doesn't make any difference, has 100% potential. If you take every individual voice in a choir and you bring it to 100% potential, then you have a choir with 100% potential. Then you get everything. Instead of you get smaller and you get larger and you're this and you're that and you're that and you have to be in this box and you're an alto, so you sing only that nonsense. Nonsense. Because when a voice feels its way, when it knows what it's doing, when it can remain without stress, and when it can express itself, it doesn't matter whether it's a soprano or an alto. It doesn't matter. The voices automatically come together and blend into celestial beauty. These children you were talking about your family in India. That's my project. I go there. I was there a month. I didn't charge the choir anything because they live in standards that you can understand, but very few people can understand. But what they have inside is so genuine, is so real, that when you open up that reservoir of potential inside a person, little ones, bigger ones, big ones, okay, people at 70, people at 80, people at any age come to me and they walk out new. They walk out like they're 20. Even if their voices are and were destroyed. Because the real instrument was only abused, but never used properly. And once you begin using the instrument properly, the instrument regenerates itself and will give you the most unbelievable things at any age. There's no such thing as an age barrier. Okay, I have students that are in their late 50s at the beginning or at the ends of their careers with wobbles in their voice, can't hold on to a sound. 2 months, 3 months time, brand new. The story is, my story is that nobody wants to hear it. And nobody wants to know it. That's why I write books, that's why I have radio shows, that's why I go around the world and I teach. Because, in truth, nobody wants to hear it. They want to stay inside the box. They're afraid of their own little places, okay, where they've done something for 30 years and it's going to stay that way. And nobody is going to take that away from me because I worked for that so hard. On the other hand, the fact that students suffer and people suffer with their voices and ENTs, okay, after they've done their operations, don't know what to do with their patients. And then, you know, oh, Miriam, I have. Julie Andrews, okay, endorses my book totally and completely. Julie Andrews, when she had her vocal cord surgery, it was at a time in my life when my daughter was dying, and I was completely not there, otherwise I would have never allowed for that surgery. The doctor who is responsible for that surgery and who operates on most of the famous people at Boston University, is now designing a Botox kind of thing that will soften your vocal cords. They inject Botox into the vocal cords to harden them so they don't move. And then people who have spasmodic dysphonia, okay, can't talk for 3 months, and then slowly they come back and they're well again and it's all over. Okay. Now he's designing something to soften the vocal folds. Okay, so I wrote him a letter. I write a lot of letters. You go on Facebook. Okay, you have letters from the president on down. My fight for the voice. I fight for the voice. You fight for the things that you fight, and I fight for the voice. And I fight for the fact that you remain happy, healthy, communicative, and singing beautifully.